What we'll be doing in this section here is solving equations with several steps. So I want to make sure you review your notes on 2.3 because once again what we'll be doing here in order to solve an equation and to get x by itself is using the addition property, then the multiplication or division property. So let's look at our first problem. We have 8x plus 10 equals 34. Remember, the whole goal here is to get x by itself. We want x on one side, we want some real number on the other side. Before we can even start messing with this variable term here, we need to get rid of this constant, this positive 10. Well, in order to get rid of a positive 10, we do the opposite and subtract 10. And what you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other side of the equal sign. So you see a positive 10 minus 10, that cancels out. We're left with 8x equals, with 34 minus 10 is 24. So you see that right there being reviewed from 2.1. Okay, now we want to get x to have a coefficient of 1, so we need to get rid of this 8 and turn it into a 1. Well, from here we do our division property. We divide by 8 because 8 divided by 8 will give us a coefficient of 1. What you do to one side of the equal sign, once again you do to the other side. Those 8 cancel out. 24 divided by 8 gives us a solution of 3. Once again, make sure you check your work. Okay, let's look at our next problem here. Once again, we have the same goal in mind. And keep in mind the things that you learned from the previous sections. Before we do anything, let's say we combine some like terms. Here we see we combine 5r minus 2r gives us 3r. Bring down this plus 6. Here we see we could combine that as well. 7r minus r gives us a 6r. So we see we have a variable term on both sides. So one of the things you learned from 2.1 was to move, one of the things that you learned from 2.1 was to move the smaller variable term. 3r, 6r. So let's move this 3r. Once again, we can use our addition property, subtract 3r because that's a positive 3r. And what you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other side of the equal sign. That cancels out. We have 6 equals, well, 6r minus 3r gives us 3r. Our goal is to turn this into a 1, so we need to somehow turn this 3 into a 1. We do our division property, divide by 3, divide by 3, because 3 divided by 3 just gives us r. We get a solution of 2. So again, make sure you check your work. So our next problem here, now what we see is some parentheses. It's going to be important before you decide to solve an equation is to get rid of parentheses, as stated in your 2.3 notes that can be found in doc sharing. In order to get rid of parentheses, you're going to be distributing. You're going to do 6 times 2x, which gives us 12x. 6 times negative 5, which gives us a negative 30. Let's again distribute negative 7 times x, negative 7x. Negative 7 times a positive 7, negative 49. Okay, once again we see that we have variable terms on both sides. We have x over here and x over there. Let's review from 2.1. We want to move the smaller one. Positive 12x, negative 7x. Let's move this one. So again, using the addition property. This is a negative 7x, so we'll add 7x. And what you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other side. See, that will cancel out. 12x plus 7x is 19x. Just bring everything else down. Really nice because no longer do we have x on both sides of the equal sign, we just have it on one side. Now we want to get rid of this negative 30. Well, how do we do that? By doing the opposite. Add 30. Those will cancel. We'll be left with 19x equals, after subtracting there, we get a negative 19. And then once again, our whole goal is to get the coefficient to be 1. So how do we get rid of this 19? Just by dividing by itself. And what you do to one side of the equal sign, you do to the other. We get a solution of -1. Once again, make sure to check your work. Very next problem here. So it looks like we're kind of doing the same thing. So start off by distributing 5 times 2x 10x. 5 times -4, -20. 10 times x, 10x. 10 times -2, -20. One thing that I want you to note here is that the left side equals the right side. If you're ever solving an equation, you see the left side equals the right side, what you're going to get as a solution is all real numbers. Okay? But let's just say you didn't see that at the very beginning. Let's continue on here. Okay? We want to move one of the variable terms. We see they're both the same, so it doesn't matter which one we move. I'm going to get rid of this one on the left side. And what we note here is they both cancel out. We're left with -20 equals -20. I want you to note here, hey, the left side still equals the right side, therefore still the same solution. But let's say we wanted to go one more step further and we wanted to bring our constants to one side. So I get rid of this -20 by adding 20, adding 20. Hey, those both cancel out. We're left with 0 equals 0. Once again, I want you to note here, left side still equals the right side, still giving us all real solutions. We see 0 equals 0, which is true. So all of a sudden, you start seeing no longer do you just get a solution, but now we're getting all infinite solutions, which means it doesn't matter what number we plug in for x, we're always going to get the left side to equal the right side. But, I'm sorry again. But now the question is, what about when is it an empty set? Whenever it's an empty set, you're going to have an equation. You'll do work, and then you'll get something like the left side not equaling the right side, a false statement. So whenever you see it to be false instead of true, that's when you'll have an empty set, which is another way of saying no solution, because you'll also see that as well on your homework. And the last problem we'll be looking at here together is one that involves fractions. We have 1 over 4 times 5x plus 2 minus 1 over 5 times x plus 3 equals 2. So problem very ugly, because what would we do? We would distribute fraction, 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 dealing with all these fractions. Well, there's something else that we could do. Instead of dealing with fractions, let's find the LCD. Well, our LCD here, not a very nice D, is going to be 20. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this whole thing by 20. And you only multiply what's outside the parentheses. And you multiply everything on the other side of the equal sign. Okay? 20 times 1/4, well, 20 times 1 is 20, divided by 4 is 5. And look at that, get rid of that fraction. Bring the minus sign down. 20 times 1 is 20. 20 divided by 5 is 4. And then we do 20 times 2, which gives us 40. So I want you to know, multiplying by the LCD is really nice, because what it does is it gets rid of fractions. No longer are we going to have fractions all within our problem. Keep in mind, you're going to multiply whatever's in front of the parentheses and everything on the other side of the equal sign, because you'll see a problem where you have more than one term on the other side of the equal sign. From here we just distribute. 5 times 5x is 25x. 5 times positive 2 is a positive 10. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times 3 is a negative 12. Combine like terms. 25x minus 4x is 21x. A positive 10 minus 12 is negative 2. Okay, so finally we got our variable term on one side. Let's get these constants to the other side. Get rid of this minus 2 by doing the opposite. Add 2 to each side. 21x to equal 42. And our last step is to get our coefficient to be 1. So we divide. And we see x will equal 2. Once again, make sure you check your work. And that concludes 2.3.